I see health and wellness businesses, whether they're med spas, plastic surgery centers, chiropractic, functional medicine practices, which have become very popular with IV nutrition, detox programs, peptides, hormone replacement therapy, and even wellness product brand partners. What I find is often they're spending too much money on their ads. So you're thinking like, what is that even possible? Well, I had a conversation with a lady last week who is getting her business going. She got like a little course like for 50 bucks. She was following some YouTube video tutorials and she was spending like 20, $25 a day on ads that were not converting. And she wasn't even aware how bad it really was. So I asked her, I said, well, how much have you spent? And so we did the math, and the total was about $1,800 on her ads in the last like 2 months. And then I asked her, well, how much did you sell? And she said, two things. And I said, well, what was that dollar amount? It was about $70 worth. I'm like, turn your ads off. So, one thing that I find that people do if they're going in this without having a plan is that they put in a high budget, they test their ads at too much money. Because what happens on Meta, Facebook and Instagram is that you give the budget and ad, whatever you want it to be. So $20, $50, whatever. What happens if you don't have the everything in place that you should, and you give it too much like ad spend, the money is going to get lit on fire. And so I like to test at really tight budgets, like the tightest budget possible for the type of ad that we're running. And there's many different types that you could run. You could run lead ads, you could run engagement ads, you could run conversion ads, you could run traffic ads. Like there's all these different ads that you could run. But their different budgets fit with different ads, especially when you're testing. You could be optimizing for a sale. You could be optimizing for a booked call or an appointment for a new patient or client. So it's variant. It depends on really what you want to do. And that's something that you need a plan for, of course. And what I find is that people are going too high in their budget too soon when they should be testing at a tighter window. And then what happens is Facebook, AKA Meta, will go in and try to figure out within that budget the right people and the right audience. And it sometimes takes time. It could take a full week. And if you're putting in, say, $50 a day testing, not knowing what your right budget should be, you've blown $350 on getting zero results. So it's really important to know how tight that budget should be. And like I said, it depends on the ad type. Like if you want to test a lead ad, it might be $5 a day. If you want to test a conversion ad, it might be $50 a day. If you want to get a book a call type of ad testing, it could be $100 or $300 a day. It really depends on the key performance indicator, AKA KPI, that you're going after. But you've got to test at the tightest window possible. Firstly, because you're training the platform on what your ideal result is. Because if you give it $50 a day, it's going to take $50 a day. But maybe you should be testing that budget at $5 a day. So you've got to, like I said, know that window, or it's just going to eat it like Pac Man. If you remember that game Pac Man and the little dots, like wow, 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 how it used to do that, that's that's meta. They will just eat all of your money. So if you give it $1,000 a day, it's going to take it. If you give it $5, it's going to take that too. So different ads have different budgets, and that's really important to know. What I find, like I said, is that a lot of people are testing and their budgets are too high. Just like this lady I talked to, and my advice to her, because I was doing like a an audit for her, I said, turn it off. Turn this ads off until we get a plan together for you and we figure out what the right steps are for you to take. You're like lighting your money on fire. I said, "Well, do you think a good return on ad spend is spending $1,800 and making 70?" She's like, "Well, no," because she did. She asked me, she goes, "Well, why would I turn it off?" I said, "Well, do you think a good return on ad spend is like spending $1,800 and then making 70?" She's like, No. And I said, well, turn it off. I turned it off. She goes, well, I thought that if I gave it more time. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. I said, if you're not getting that result within 7 days, and sometimes it does, it will take longer. It'll optimize over time. It could be weeks and, even months to really hone in and optimize. But you should know if the thing is going to live or die within 3 days. And then you let it cycle if it's not horrific. Okay, because it will take some time to optimize in. If it's not horrific, we let it go for 7 days. And then we evaluate every day what's happening, but we want to do it in the tightest little window possible so that we can see if we can make that work. Because if we can make that work, we can scale and make it even better. But it all depends on, like I said, what you're really going for with your ad. Like I said, different ads, different budgets, different results. And so you've got to have that plan. Okay. That's the number one thing. You don't want to be like this person that I was having this consult with and just thinking that, everything was great, just burning through money. She goes, well, it got approved and it was running. I said, well, it's bad math right now, what's happening to you. And I see that all the time with people selling products, or if you're, like I said, a med spa and you want to get more booked, Botox appointments or microneedling, or maybe you do hormone replacement therapy through that channel with your practice. You don't want to be losing money, because what ultimately matters is getting people on the calendar, getting them to show up, and getting them to spend a nice dollar with you and be super happy with the results, and then getting them to come back. Because we're not looking for one shot clients, we're not looking for one shot purchasers of products. We're looking for loyalty, and then we're looking for them to bring their friends and say good things about us too. But we can't do that if our ads aren't working, because in today's age, you need to be running ads on Meta and you need to get them to convert well, but you have to start with the right budget, testing tight, in the right ad type. So if you don't know what that is and you're going, Jen, I am not sure what you're talking about, but you want to get that in dialed in correctly, let's book a call and talk about what your plans are, what you're offering, and what that budget should be, and then kind of map out a process for that. So we do this type of like concierge call where you can figure out if it's the right thing and get you on the right track with a plan. Okay. So go ahead. There's a link below that you can book a call. You'll see it down there, and just tell me about your business. And then we'll figure out what the best path is from you from there. And this is a complimentary call. We just don't want to see you like this lady that I had a consult with, booking, like burning through thousands of dollars of ads and not getting any result. Because with some simple tweaks and the right path, the right ads, you could have a booked calendar, lots of new clients, and be like, oh my gosh, we need to expand. We need to get, more calendar slots open or bring on some more staff, and that's a great issue to have, isn't it? So let's do this call, figure out what's going on, and then we'll guide you from that point. So go ahead, go below, and then let's book this time, and we'll see you soon.